What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Extended Range Aviation. Today we have the August/June update August/September update, that's my bad, for Edmonton. This update is covering 2 months just because I don't think I'll have time to record on September, and September's schedules will look basically identical to August with a few exceptions. Moving forward, I'm not going to upload videos on a fixed monthly basis, but just whenever I have time and/if something interesting happens. So yeah, let's dive right into it. Alright, starting in the back here as usual with those Flare and Canadian North gates. In the back, we have the standard Canadian North 737-300, which is on the Yellowknife turnaround. And just for fun, we have this Flare 737-800, which is at Gate 14. Gate 14, the jet bridge is inoperable right now, so they use stairs to board the aircraft. As you can see, I have some stairs, just Lego set up in the back. I'll try and get some nicer stairs at some point to better replicate that, but that's the situation there right now. I wonder if they're ever going to repair that jet bridge, or if they're going to leave it as ground boarding just for flair. Just because they're operating that low-cost model. Anyway, this aircraft arrived in from Abbotsford and will be heading out to Kelowna. Just about to pull in next to him is this Flare 737 MAX 8, which is arriving in from Waterloo and will be heading out to Victoria. Alright, getting into the regional gates here, we have the two Encore aircraft. The one in the back in the old livery arrived in from Regina, which is double daily. I'll be heading out to one of the new routes in this update, and for Edmonton, Kamloops. Kamloops is operating twice a week in June, July, and August. I really hope this route goes daily and year-round at some point. I presume that just because this route was announced kind of late, just under a month before it started, they probably couldn't ramp the frequencies up as high as they wanted. So hopefully, like I said, next summer we'll have more frequency, providing the route does well. And this other Encore aircraft will be operating the second new route for today, the twice weekly service to Prince George, which is also operating from June through August. This route, hopefully same thing as Kamloops, will go daily and year-round at some point. Although I don't know if the daily will stick around year-round, as Calgary, I think, is running on 6 weekly Dash 8s during the winter to Prince George, so if we manage to get daily, we would definitely be beating them, which I do not see WestJet ever putting more frequency in Edmonton versus Calgary. Yes, anyway, it arrived in from Prince George and will be heading out to Yellowknife. Over here is this Air Canada CRJ900, which also arrived in from Yellowknife and will be heading out to Calgary. Like I say every time, the Calgary flight is normally a Dash 8, but I don't have it in my fleet. So I'm just throwing a CRJ on there as the next best thing that I have. Alright, moving into the Air Canada gates here. In the back, we have an Air Canada Airbus A321. This aircraft arrived in on the Toronto turnaround. And then an A320, which arrived in on the Vancouver turnaround. As of recording, the Air Canada strikes just finished last night, so that'll be interesting to see how their operation ramps back up to capacity. Over to these gates here, we have two WestJet aircraft. One in the back in the 100th 737NG livery. This livery is currently phased out, but I just thought I'd throw it in here just for some extra spice instead of the regular normal livery. This aircraft arrived in from one of the new mainline routes, Nanaimo, which is twice weekly mainline service. Surprised they didn't go with 4 or 5 weekly Dash 8s, but we'll take mainline anywhere we can get. So twice weekly mainline service, and I'll be heading out on the other new mainline service to Yellowknife, which is operating twice a week alongside the other 2 weekly Dash 8s. And then a Sunwing aircraft, which is becoming even more and more common in Edmonton. I find that a lot of the frequencies now are on Sunwing and swoop planes, which is cool to see, just to spot them, but kind of unfortunate as they don't have business class. At least the Sunwing aircraft have Starlink, if I remember correctly, or some of them do. So it isn't as bad as getting a swoop aircraft on your flight, but still would be cool to get these aircraft painted as quickly as possible and reconfigured. Anyway, this aircraft arrived in from Kelowna and will be heading out to Victoria. Over here at the next two gates, we'll call this 58 and 60, is this Porter E195E2, which arrived in from Hamilton, and will be heading out to Toronto Pearson. And then in the new livery here is this WestJet 737-700, which arrived in from Toronto, and will be heading out to Ottawa. Alright, two more WestJet aircraft here. First one in the back is a 700, which arrived in from, let's say, actually this is a good route, Charlottetown, which resumed for the season in early July, which wasn't featured in any updates yet. And it'll be heading out to Moncton, which is the other seasonal destination that has not been featured yet on this channel. Charlottetown is once weekly and Moncton is twice weekly, but used to be thrice weekly. And then over here is this WestJet 737-800, which arrived in from Halifax. Does that for all the maritime destinations. And then I'll be departing to Saint Johns, Newfoundland. Just pushing out to the transborder gates is this WestJet 737-700. Unfortunately, transborder service is down, but slowly picking back up. This aircraft arrived in from, let's say, Phoenix, which is the summer season, which is a year-round destination operating once weekly in the summer. Although normally it's twice weekly, but due to the tariffs, just down to once weekly. It came in from Phoenix and is pushing out for, let's say, Minneapolis. There's a Swoop 737-800, which is operating for WestJet, which is pretty standard now. We see a lot of these. This aircraft arrived in from Las Vegas and will be heading out to Nashville. Alright, here is our American Airlines here for Edmonton. In the front is this United 737 MAX 8, which is realistic here. We're getting the MAX 8 starting, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks alongside the 800. Nice to see that the Denver route has basically fully recovered. When the tariffs first hit, it was down to A319s. And just 2 days ago, they put 738s back on, and the MAX 8s are coming back on, I presume, as like a seasonal variation in at the end of August here, so early September. Yeah, they're the same capacity as the 800s, obviously, just a different aircraft, and the only one I have for Boeing in my United fleet. So I thought I'd throw it in here. And yeah, this aircraft's on the Denver turnaround. And then here's this A320, which is operating on the Chicago and Houston flight. This aircraft arrives in from Chicago, does a 16-hour overnight, that's right, 16 hours, and then will depart out to Houston or Chicago, depending on the day. Houston is going daily, I think at the end of October should be, so that's coming up soon. Looking forward to seeing daily Houston flights. I just recently checked, it's still going daily despite the tariff situation, so it's nice to see that. But I imagine Houston is one of those routes that's not really affected by tariffs. A lot of passengers either connecting to South and Central America, and it's also a lot of business travelers with oil, so it seems like a route, like I said, that stays pretty solid throughout times like this. And last here, as usual, is this Alaska E175, which is on one of the 2 daily Seattle flights. Seattle's also stayed the same throughout the tariffs. There's been no drops or anything. Not too sure what load factors on this one, but still good to see that, you know, those services are staying the same. So yeah, that's really good to see. Hopefully we can get more service to the States with Alaska. I'd like to see a 3rd daily flight, or even more flights in the winter would be nice. As they're kind of our only one world carrier, although we'll see what happens if Porter decides to join One World with their new American Airlines partnership. Alright, and that is it for this installment for Edmonton. A lot of new things here, especially with those low-frequency summer seasonal routes like Prince George, Kamloops, Charlottetown, and Moncton. We love to see those operating strong. Also cool to see Mainline on Yellowknife and Nanaimo now. Those are 2 really interesting cities to have it on. Especially Nanaimo, I was kind of thinking they would have more Dash 8 frequencies before they put Mainline on it, but that's still good to see. Yellowknife Mainline is really exciting, like I said. Yeah, so not much to look forward to going into this winter, unfortunately. There is some, the usual frequency increases, but they're pretty minor, only adding like 1 or 2 weekly flights to Cancun and Puerto Vallarta. But just I guess to list them off, Huatulco is going from 2 to 3 weekly, which when I saw they announced that, I was a little bit surprised because last year it was 3 weekly. So they basically dropped it at the end of last season and then raised it again. So there is 0 frequency change, but they claim that it is an extra weekly flight, which it's really not. Mazatlan is going from 3 to 4 weekly, I think, which is exciting, but that 4th weekly flight is just a Sunwing flight, which is not bookable by WestJet. And then Cancun and Puerto Vallarta have pretty big increases. I was really hoping for more for the winter. Like I said, they're claiming these increases, but they're really just adding Sunwing flights into it, so the frequencies are staying the same. Cancun has an extra weekly flight, I think, with WestJet, which is nice, I think on that red eye, and then Puerto Vallarta is the same thing, just an extra weekly flight. The new destination for this winter is Montego Bay, once weekly on Sunday from December to April, which is exciting. Nice to have that back. Again, very interesting new route. We had that in 2022 and 2023 for those winters, and then they cut it for winter 24/25, and they're bringing it back for 25 and 26. So that's I guess a one winter cut. Very, very interesting scheduling on behalf of WestJet there. I don't know what's gonna happen, moving forward. Like, it seems like this is not the first time they've dropped frequencies or dropped routes and then re-announced them for the same season the next year. I don't know what their tactic is. Maybe they're trying to get people to book them because it's like a new route, but it's really not. So yeah, kind of disappointed with that announcement. I was hoping we get something good like Liberia or even like Kona in Hawaii. I know the situation's kind of dire, but would be kind of good to see stuff like that. Hopefully going into summer we get some good stuff. I know the European airlines are slowly releasing their summer schedules, so maybe, just maybe, we're going to have Air France or British Airways in Edmonton. Maybe even Eurowings. I wouldn't put it past them either, especially with, having a pretty decent Star Alliance presence in Canada just as a whole with Air Canada. But yeah, I will update you guys with any more new routes that we get. Like I said, hopefully things get more exciting here, but at least things aren't going down. At least they're staying steady, so we'd love to see that. We should break our passenger record this year. We've broken every single month, even with the transborder passengers down. We've broken previous records so far, so we should hit over 8 million by the end of this year. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, whenever that may be.